Lady Fit and Wade. Thanks for joining me. Now, last episode we talked about my January makes, and I compared what I was able to complete in 2021 to what I was able to make in 2022. So if you haven't checked out that video, I encourage you to do so. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about starting fresh. So if you are someone who is absolutely brand spanking new to sewing, like you literally just got your sewing machine and it ain't even out the box yet, and you ready to go to your local fabric store and pick up some patterns and pick up some fabric and pick up some notions, and you want to go, here is the order in which I recommend you start your sewing journey. Now, it could be controversial. It's just my opinion. These are all patterns that I have actually made, and if I were to start over again, I think I would do them in this order. So here's what I am recommending to you. Now, if you're someone that's just like, I just want to do all the things, then by all means, buy all the patterns, buy all the fabric, go through, and if they have some really good instructions, you'll be able to make your way through it. If it has a blessed YouTube video sew along or tutorial, then that's even better. But here is what I recommend you start with. I recommend bottoms. Now, the reason I recommend bottoms is because you normally don't have as many measurements that you would need to take when it comes to beginner-friendly patterns. You'll have your waist measurement, your hip measurement, and possibly, your length, so your waist to your ankle or to the floor, depending on how you wear your pants. For the most part, those are the measurements you need to take. Also, there's really very few pattern pieces with bottoms when it comes to beginner sewing patterns, and you'll see that in the list, and I'll go over the number of pattern pieces for each one that I've recommended, and it's fairly easy to whip up these patterns. They also build on skills for each pattern, so it's not the exact same thing that you're doing every single time, but the steps are pretty much the same. So once you get through patterns number 1 and 2, you'll be very confident to go on for the remainder of the list. Let's get started. In pattern piece number 1, it's the George and Ginger 10-minute boxers. Okay, so, and you'll see, if it's a full sheet of paper, that means it's a PDF pattern. Obviously, if it's an envelope, that means it's something that I bought at a local fabric store or online. So now with the George and Ginger pattern, this is as simple can get. So this has one pattern piece, and you cut that out twice. Now, hopefully you'll watch the video, and I'll link that below, which explains how to actually cut out that pattern piece twice, but in essence, that's it. So you can truly get started with something very easy. Because they're boxer shorts, they're meant to be worn like pretty much overnight or just at home. So in terms of fit, you have, only the sins that you'll see at home wearing this if you happen to mess up, but it's very easy. When I made up my pair, the fit seemed like spot on. They weren't too big or too small, and again, something very easy. So now for my make, I use some flannel fabric from Joann. I do a lot of shopping at Joann. I'm the type of person where I need to touch and feel and really get an understanding of the fabric. I'm not that well versed when it comes to all the fabric types, and so ordering online hasn't worked for me. That's a whole nother episode to go through. But I like to actually go into the store and be able to really understand the fabric, the weight of it, the actual colors of it, and how structured or not it is for me to be able to say, okay, yep, I may be comfortable with working with this material, and that it'll give me the look that I'm going for with the finished garment. All that said, this is a flannel fabric from Joann. Flannel is so easy to me to work with. it stays where it's supposed to stay. It doesn't move. It doesn't try to run off and play with its friends. It's really, really easy to maneuver. And so I figured this was a perfect fabric to start off my sewing journey. Two pattern pieces. It has a waistband that's folded over, meaning that you have the two pieces. When it comes to the waistband, it's this high, you fold it over to this high, and then you just stitch along. Now with any pants piece that has an elastic waist, you just leave an opening, stick the elastic through and sew it up, and you're done. And basically this is what it is. It does give you, or she gives a guide or tells you about how much you'll need as far as elastic for the waistband. It's always good to check your own measurements. So take a piece of elastic, wrap it around yourself, pull it just a little bit till it gets to where you're comfortable, knowing it won't fall off or be too floppy around your waist, and then just use that inside the garment. The one thing that I did not do when I had sewed this garment was to actually finish the edge of the hem. So I made a small hem, but as you can see there, I did not finish the edge. At the time, I did not have a serger. I wasn't familiar with zigzagging. And so every time I wash this, you know, I'll get all these little antennas, I guess I'll call them, on the bottom here that I'll either have to clip off if it bothers me. I feel like something's crawling on me or something, but you know, it was my first time out the gate, so this is what happened. I have learned from that, and now I definitely will finish the edge, the bottom edge, before I actually create the hem. But again, she walks you through the video as well as the instructions. So as a very first garment, first thing you're putting on your sewing machine to construct, I recommend the Georgian Ginger 10-minute boxers. Number 2. Now, this next one will look familiar to you if you checked out my last episode, in that it's another quick and easy pattern. So it is Kwik Sew 3602. They call these sleep pants. I call them my work from home wardrobe. Tomato, tomato. I mean, they are what you call them, okay? So this pattern, again, is a very, very easy one. So you actually have two pattern pieces on this. So now we're going from one pattern piece where you just fold over the waistband to now two pieces. So you have an actual separate front and separate back. So you're cutting those both out twice. Once you stitch those together, you're again folding over the waistband to create a casing for your elastic. And so again, these are my Friday jean pants that I'm showing you, and that's basically just what I did. Here's the front, here's the back, here's the waistband, here's a little tag to let you know this is the back of the pants. Very easy to sew up. The instructions are quite clear. If you were able to master number 1, all this is a longer version of number 1. So we started with shorts because we didn't want to waste a lot of material or a lot of fabric. So now that we've gotten the hang of it, we're actually doing a pair of pants. Again, this 3602, very easy to put together. I think it goes from an extra small to an extra large. You'll see all of those measurements on the package itself. But again, another quick pattern to sew up to get you familiar with sewing bottoms. Now we're at number 3. Now, number 3 is going to advance us just a wee bit more. So for pattern number 3, we're looking at Simplicity 8841. Now, if you're interested in knowing, the reason why I have all of these in these little sheet protectors is because I keep my patterns in a binder. So it's just the envelope that is actually in the binder. I just put that in a protector, throw it in a binder. They're separated by category, so it's easy for me to flip through. I apologize if the glare is a bit too much on these. But for number 3, it's 8841. This pattern has 4 pattern pieces. So we're moving on up now. We have a front, a back, and we have pockets. If I show you that in the front, we actually have pockets. Now, I don't know how good my lining up or how obvious it is to see where the pocket begins and ends. And if you can't tell, thank you very much. But these do have pockets. And so this is an introduction to put it into pockets. Now, the reason this is number 3 is because these are considered patch pockets. So they're not the kind that slide in like some of your more trouser type bottoms. But they sit here right on the front of the pants, which makes them pretty simple to construct. I like these pockets because they're square, so they're not rounded. You don't have to do any gathering or anything really special with this pocket other than fold over the side, fold up the bottom, and then stitch it along where it says to go on the pants itself. So this is a great introduction to pockets in a garment. It also comes with a separate waistband, and so what I did, again, this is, I'm fairly new, was I went ahead and I stitched according to the seam allowance, stitched the waistband on, and then I finished it with the serger just to give it a cleaner look inside. I used an elastic guide, which they do, again, offer in pretty much all the patterns. You do get a guide in which it tells you this is how long your elastic should be. I also recommend that you put the elastic around your waist whenever you're doing an elastic waistband that goes on entirely around, and even those that are just in the back, that you at least put it around your waist just to see how it feels, if it's comfortable for you or not, and then just insert that into the waistband and close up, the little area that you needed to insert it. But as far as garment number 3, this was a great one. Now we're adding pockets. So we're comfortable with our front and back. Let's add a little more detail. Okay, so we're at number 4, and we're going to advance just a bit more. We started with 1 pattern piece, moved on up to 2, added pockets to number 3, and so for number 4, we're going to do just a bit more detail. So for number 4, the pattern that I recommend is McCall's 7786. And I'm going to recommend View A, which is what the model is wearing. In this pattern, we are moving up to 7 pattern pieces. Now, don't get scared. It's not that serious. Most of these pattern pieces you're already familiar with. It's just giving you a little more detail in the pattern or in the garment itself, but it's nothing to be afraid of. So for my first make, which looks a little bit like the model. I really like those pants, and I was like, I'm going to find a fabric that's pretty much similar to that. So what we start with is, again, we always have our front, we're always going to have our back. Those are cut twice and sewn together. You also have now more of a slit pocket or a slant pocket on the side here, so we're going to, use that as our new skill or technique that we're learning to actually put the pocket into the side of the pants as well as into the waistband here. So that's 1, 2, 3 pattern pieces. Now 4 and 5 are the bottom hem. So if you remember, actually on the model there was a hem, and what I decided to do was, instead of going vertical with my stripes at the bottom, I went horizontal. So now you have your front and your back. Then you have your front bottom and your back bottom. So that's 4 pieces right off rip. We're going to add pockets. That's pocket pieces number 5 and 6, because you have 2 pieces, right? You have the front of the pocket and you have the back of the pocket, as well as a waistband. So now, again, all of the pieces are familiar in terms of the name of them. It's just how they are constructed. This, again, is a nice make, a pretty beginner-friendly project. It wasn't difficult for me at all to follow the instructions. The other thing that's different about this particular garment is that while it has elastic in the back, it's a flat front. And so you actually have, and I may have miscounted, but you have a little facing right here to put on the front of that. So in case there is some movement on your waist there, you actually have the inside of the garment that looks pretty much like the outside. That's what a facing does. So you have those two. Now, this is also a new skill, putting together the elastic back and the flat front, but it's something that you'll be able to handle because you've already been familiar with how to put together waistbands as well as front and back. So this was like in a linen type fabric. I also got this from Joann Fabrics. It might even be considered a duck cloth, but it's softer than like a very sturdy or very rough and hard duck cloth pattern and fabric, and they probably still have this in stock. If they do, I'll link it below. And it came in a couple of other colors as well. But this was, again, one of those fabrics that it's going to do what you say do, and it's not going to give you pretty much any trouble when it comes to putting it together. Washed and dried, of course, before creating the garment so that any shrinkage would occur before I actually start on it. Now, I did like this pattern so much that I actually made two of them. The first one was a pretty structured fabric, and so for the second one, I also used a pretty structured fabric, and that's in corduroy. So it gives a different look. It's a bit more sturdy and like, I ain't going nowhere, sis. You know, I'm as wide can be. So if you're going for that look, definitely use some corduroy for that. Again, it is the exact same pattern, same construction. I didn't do these back to back. Actually, it was a couple months in between. Those were like late summer, early fall, and these were pretty much late fall, early winter when I created this garment. But again, it has the same details where you have the front, two pieces in the front, two pieces in the back. You have your waistband as well as your elastic guide. Again, we are going to try those on and see how it feels before we actually cut the elastic to make sure it's comfortable on our waist. But again, for pattern number 4, these are a great pattern. Next, we have pattern number 5. So for pattern number 5, we have Simplicity 1165. Now, this is a very popular pattern. There are a lot of YouTubers who have sewn up this pattern. It was in my stash for quite a while, and after seeing some of their videos, it was like, okay, go ahead and stick this in your to-do list. There are 5 pattern pieces with this as well as the elastic guide. It's a pretty simple pattern to make. So what we have is actually you have your front cut twice, okay? You have your back cut twice. You have pockets on the front, and so again we're looking at that slanted or seam, I'm not sure what the term is, but instead of the patch you have the side seam pockets. Okay, that's 5. You actually have now, instead of just one waistband with the elastic, you have 2. So that's our new skill for this pattern, is that we are adding elastic twice to the band. Once you have added it once, it's pretty simple to add it twice. We're going to start with the top, have an insert, stick the elastic in, sew that together, go down to the next one, sew that around, leave an insert, stick it in, and zip it up, or I should say close it up. So it's not that hard. It's just we're adding another layer of skills. And so we have the second waistband. In addition to that, we're adding some back pockets. Now, of course, these are optional. You don't have to do them. You can leave them off if you don't like pockets, but we're introducing back pockets to our pants. So fronts, backs, waistband, front pockets, as well as back pockets with 2 elastic casings with it. These pants are actually tapered, whereas the last ones, they were pretty much, you know, straight leg or wide leg, I should say. These are a little tapered. That's not so much a skill build as much as it is, you know, and you're just continuing with your seam allowance and the garment is getting smaller at the bottom. As with any, we're going to hem the bottom, because I do have a serger, more often than not, I'll just serge the bottom of my hems, and this is on pants as well as on tops, the sleeve as well as the waist hem. I'll serge those and then I'll fold it over. For this one, I actually didn't sew it. I used some hem tape and just taped it around. The reason why I did that was, one, just getting familiar with that hem tape, and then two, because I got this fabric from, let's say it together, Joann. It's just a cotton fabric. This was truly a test fabric, so or a test garment, I should say. And so I just wanted to get finished with it to see how it worked, and I really didn't have any desire to wear these pants outside, so they may just, you know, be worn around the house or whatever. But they did come out fine. The fit is fine. It's just this fabric choice isn't one that you would see me out and about in. But overall, for number 5, we're adding a second waistband and we're adding pockets. You'll be good at this. No, you'll be great at this. Number 6. So we're going to step back just a little bit with the number of pattern pieces, but we're going to add just another dimension to our skills. So for number 6, we're going with McCall 7942. Now, this pattern here actually has both a top as well as a bottom. We're going to focus on the bottoms, of course, but the beauty of some of these patterns is that they have a number of different views in it. So once you've mastered one view, you can look at some of the other views that you may want to make. You're already familiar with it. Some of them, it's, you know, the same front and back. You may just have some different details to it. So if it's already cut out or traced, you've already jumped over that hurdle, so you can hopefully more quickly finish up your second project with that pattern. But for this one, we're going to focus on the bottoms. Now this one has 4 pattern pieces. You have your front, you have your back, and you have 2 pocket pieces, because this is truly a side pocket seam. And so you have 2 pocket pieces that you need to sew together. This also has a waistband here that has what's called the paper bag look. And so while we started with the one waistband that was truly the top of the pants, and then we went to a double waist, but again, that was the very top of the pants. For this one, you have, you know, your elastic waistband all the way around, but there's just a bit of fabric that is above the waist, or above the elastic, I should say, that gives you the paper bag effect. So you're not doing any pleats and gathering and all that stuff. The elastic does all the work for you. It's just because this isn't a part of the elastic, it gives that paper bag effect. So a very easy skill to build, because the elastic is doing all the work for you. So you have the waistband, and then you have a tie here. Now, unfortunately, my ties weren't as long as I thought they would come out to be, so you may want to check that when you are putting your garment together. If you want them longer, you can certainly not have them at all, but I would have rather mine just been a little bit longer so my bow can actually look like a bow and not a knot. But these pants are, again, very easy to put together. You just have your 4 pattern pieces. Here at the bottom, my pants came out so long. Okay, so 2 things. My pattern came out really, really long. So I had a very, very big hem. The other thing was, this was, and I didn't do these in the order that I'm showing you now, but this was one of the first pants that I put together, and my first time using quilting cotton for a garment. And I was like, oh man, this is so thin. I'm going to need to line these. Pattern doesn't call for lining at all. But I was like, I can't wear that. That's too thin. And so I caught myself making a lining in these pants, which now makes them so stiff and just not comfortable. So I don't wear these at all. at all. But I wanted to show them that they do in fact fit, and I will make them again. And I will use just one layer of fabric when I do that. But this is the paper bag. So now we're getting more into fashion, as the other ones are definitely fashionable, like wide leg. I'll wear those all day, every day. But we're adding just another element to our waistband here with the paper bag and with the tie. So front, back, pockets, as well as your tie. And again, your elastic guide. So we are still building skills. Number 7. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay, so when you see this one, you're going to think, why didn't you put this all the way at the beginning? Like, this should have been like number 1 or 2. And I don't disagree with you, because it's a very, very easy pattern. But I wanted to introduce it a little later just for the new element that it brings. So your skills may not necessarily advance with this pattern, but I still think it's a good spot to insert this pattern in. What's the pattern? Okay, so this is Wardrobe by Me Easy Shorts. And when I say easy, holy cow, it is easy. So again, this pattern here only has 2 pattern pieces. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention way back when we first started this conversation that the George and Ginger pattern is a free pattern. A free pattern. Check out their website, grab that pattern, see if there's anything else there that you want to grab, and do so. And then check out the YouTube video that they have as a sew along. Now, number 7 is also a free pattern. Go to their website, grab this pattern, look around, see if there's anything else that you'd like to grab, and both of them have some really cute patterns that I would recommend you diving into later on. But for now, we're going to stick to what's easy for the first 4 to 8. Okay, so this Wardrobe by Me pattern, again, free pattern. It only has 2 pattern pieces. And this one, you know, it's a front and back together because there's no side seam. It's just a seam here in the front. So you have one side you cut, and then you have the other side that you've mirrored and you cut. Really simple, right? Could have been number 1 or number 2 on the list. It has a waistband that you attach to the bottoms, or once you get the legs, you apply the waistband. Again, I serged mine. The only reason why I'm putting in sins of the sin. I did use white because I didn't have black at the time. So let's just focus on the outside here. So the reason why this is number 7 is because if you look pretty closely there is a faux fly zipper. So there is absolutely no zipper here, none whatsoever. But it gives you the look of a zipper, and that's why I wanted to make this number 7. So while this is something that you could whip up probably as your first garment, I just wanted to introduce the concept of a fly zip without actually putting in a fly zip, because we are not doing fly zips in our first 8 garments. Don't do it. Okay, well, you could. I mean, do you, right? But I wouldn't recommend it. Try these 8 or something very close to them, but let's not do the fly zip just yet. So that's why we have this as number 7. So again, 2 pattern pieces. You cut that out twice, you attach a waistband, and then you stitch along what could be a fly zip, and you have number 8 or number 7. So go check out Wardrobe by Me. Dun, 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 dun. I have nothing else. That's all I got. So, last but certainly not least, coming in at number 8, we're going to put it all together. Okay, so my recommendation for your number 8 pattern is M8162. Now, this pattern has 6 pieces. 1 to 4 to 7, back down to 2. Now we're jumping over to 6. Yes, we are all over the place with pattern pieces, and that's okay. We have fronts, we have backs to all of them. Some have pockets, some don't. Some have waistbands, some have double waistbands. We're building skills, and number 8 is going to help us bring it all together. So with 6 pattern pieces, fabric from Joanne, corduroy. I really like corduroy. But for this pattern, you have your front cut twice. You have your pocket. So again, we're looking at the patch pocket here. Can you see the pocket on this one? Yeah, you can, and that's because I cut it upside down, or the nape was different. I still wear these as though that doesn't exist, because I love corduroy and these are very comfortable. But, okay, so you have your front cut twice with pockets. You have your back cut twice with pockets. So now that's 4 of the 6, right? So you have front pocket. You have back pocket. So we know this. We're already good with this. We're good. Number 5 is a waistband. Duh. Yeah, it has to sit on her waist somehow. And number 6, we're adding carriers, which are really, really simple, extremely simple. But it's building another skill, and it's giving our garments more character. And so this is why we're at number 8. But wait, there's more. It actually has our first button slash snap. I wasn't about the buttons. So we did snaps, and it has a zipper. Now, I know I just said we are not doing fly fronts, and we are not doing. This is what's considered a lap, because this little piece just laps over. And so this is our introduction to 2 closures. So you're getting the 2-in-1 here, basically. You're getting a button and a buttonhole, or you can, you can do a snap and it still works. And you're getting a zipper. So this is like the epitome of a master's program in, okay, well, maybe not a master's program. It's probably like a bachelor. So all the other ones was like K through 12, and then this is like your bachelor's degree in putting together pants. You're welcome. Print you up a certificate, boo. You've earned it. Again, pretty simple. You have patch pockets, and so again, it's laying right on top of the front here. These are squares, so it's just a matter of folding over. These, you do have just a bit of a top stitch running there. I use black because I wanted it to kind of blend in and not necessarily see the stitching on these pair of pants. But again, really, really easy. Now, these don't have anything special at the bottom. I just made, a standard size cuff here. Turn them under. Again, here's my stitching at the edge. Fold them over. And I did actually stitch these pair. I wasn't sure how the adhesive would be, with corduroy, because that's a really thick and tough fabric. So I did go ahead and stitch those, but these fit very well. Instructions are really good. One thing I will say is to look through YouTube, do a search, and see if you are interested in any of these patterns. Some of them do have some sew-alongs, or at least some reviews, so that can help you kind of gauge sizing or the type of fabric that you want to use. Some have blog posts and other resources for you to go and check out. But Again, I highly recommend that if you are just starting out to sew, looking for your very first pattern on what to do, and well, for garments, what to do, I encourage you to pick up these 8 patterns. Most of them should still be in the drawers at your local fabric shops. If not, you can find them on Etsy or eBay. Kwik Sew, unfortunately, isn't on the somethingdelightful.com website any longer, but you may be able to find that still out and about in the marketplace. So once again, these are the top 8, or the first 8, I should say, that I recommend a new sewist to start with. They're very minimal in terms of pattern pieces. Instructions are really, really good. Most, if not all of them, say easy, very easy, or, beginner sewist on the actual pattern or in the instructions or description. So that gives you some indication that a lot more detail has gone into the instructions for you to be able to just, kind of sew this with ease. Let me know in the comments if there are others that you suggest that people would start with, or if you're saying no way, they shouldn't do any of these at all. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that too. Later we'll talk about other types of garments, so tops and maybe some skirts or something. We'll do the first 4 to 8 on those, but this is something just to get you started. So today's episode is dedicated to Frugalisima. She is awesome when it comes to identifying free patterns, sewing challenges, giveaways, as well as tutorials and other information. I'll link her YouTube channel in the description below, as well as her Instagram account. Take a moment to go check her out, see some of her videos, and subscribe if you like. Thanks so much for joining me today. I appreciate you walking through life with me on this sewing journey. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment below. Bye.